Welcome to the American Academy of Grief Counseling's Videogram on disenfranchised grief, when my grief does not matter. And in this video, we're going to discuss disenfranchised grief and how it affects individuals, and how also there are certain types of it that exist that are more prominent than others. But what we need to address first is my loss and my personal grief does matter. So it matters greatly, and no one can say that it doesn't. That's the first fundamental part of grief counseling. Everyone's loss is unique and everyone's loss matters. So your grief matters. Your loss is unique and it is special. And no one has a right to demean your grief. No one has a right to compare your grief to something else, to try to belittle it. No one has a right to dismiss your grief as too small. And no one has a right to judge you in how you wish to grieve or what you are going through. No one is in your shoes. So don't allow someone to disenfranchise your grief. Your grief does matter. But why are losses minimized by others? Why do others dismiss how we feel? Well, many have self-defense mechanisms. And when they see other individuals grieving, they're afraid that's going to make them grieve. They feel they need to be sterile from that type of environment of emotion. And when they see others doing it, their self-defense mechanism kicks in because they know they can't handle the loss. They can't face the loss. And when they see other individuals facing that loss, it becomes an issue for them and how they're processing their particular grief. Some individuals are just insensitive. You're going to deal with individuals who are narcissistic and they only care about themselves and how they feel, and how you feel means nothing. So unfortunately, we do have those types of individuals. Another type is those who've never experienced grief. They might not understand loss at all. They might also be uneducated in grief theory as well. And then finally, control. Many individuals look to control other people in everything they do, whether it's diet, exercise, or what you watch on television. Some individuals also want to control your emotions and how you grieve. So it can be an issue of control as well. Whatever, again, the case is, you cannot allow grief bullies to come in and dictate how you grieve or if your loss is valid or not. Examples of disenfranchised grief include pet loss. We've discussed this in our pet loss grief video before. A loss of a pet can be as painful, if not more, than losing one of our human family members, because many individuals place value on pets, that of a family status, whether it's a horse, dog, cat, even a rabbit or a hedgehog. It doesn't matter. Certain individuals have certain ties to that particular pet for a particular reason. Might not even be the pet itself, might be who bought the pet at the time. And that's the whole plot for the John Wick series, right? Someone kills his dog who was given to him by his wife who passed away. So that dog had meaning, a lot more meaning than what they thought. They told him it was only a dog, right? So pet loss in itself. We look at miscarriage. Miscarriage is something that is sometimes not even known. The individual keeps it to themselves. So they conceal it. They have no outlet to grieve. And in some cases, society doesn't see a miscarriage as losing a child. And for this individual, they've lost a child that was very much part of them. And they don't receive the same outlet. They don't receive the same support. There's no funeral for them to express their grief. So many times it's dismissed, or it's compared, at least it wasn't a baby that was born. Those types of comparisons are ways of putting down this type of particular loss itself. Suicide is another one. Many families feel that the stigma of suicide is too much on their own name, their own status in society, and they keep those things to themselves, or they don't want to discuss it, or others consider the family and the suicide to be something that is horrible, but something they don't want to discuss or talk about. So these types of losses then are hidden. Drug abuse or overdose, as well as drunk driving. These all can also fall under this type of loss, where the disfranchisement comes into play about the nature of the loss, the death itself, and how it occurred in particular. So we have a big problem for individuals who deal with these types of losses. There are also those who are not seen. They're not considered maybe important enough or close enough to what occurred to be valued. Their emotions are dismissed. They're put to the side. So are those who cannot grieve publicly for a particular loss. This happens in many fascist nations and things where a particular individual, you won't be able to have a funeral for them, or a communist nation. You cannot grieve publicly for the particular loss for whatever reason because of that. They're not seen. It's not able to receive the public support that it deserves. Boyfriends and girlfriends sometimes are also thrown into a not seen category. In regards to the family will have calling hours, and the boyfriend or girlfriend comes and they're just seen as the person that individual was dating at that time. Homosexual couples are another thing to consider. The other partner might not be seen as valid to the family. The homosexual boyfriend or girlfriend, they show up to the funeral and they're not accepted there because the relationship itself was not accepted by the core family. Also within society itself, homosexual couples sometimes are not given the same protection and laws that other heterosexual couples are given. So their grief is complicated and increased by that type of attitude. Estranged family is also another one to consider. A family member who is not doing well with the other siblings, they show up for mom or dad's funeral and they are shunned to the back of the church or at the funeral home, and they're not respected, or they're seen and ridiculed for not being around enough when mom or dad were dying. So estranged family sometimes are disenfranchised from their grief. And then mourning a public figure. It does occur. Some individuals are very close to various musicians in their heart because that song helped them through a particular time. And sometimes national leaders are so important to a country and its continued success that an assassination or something really hurts individuals. And many individuals who grieve over public figures, they're sometimes dismissed. They're told that your grief doesn't matter. You didn't even know the person personally. Get over it. And this is very common. And it's something that needs to be addressed as well when we talk about disenfranchised grief itself. So there's a number of individuals who are not seen in these types of losses, who are not given respect for their loss just because of who they are and who they are in relationship to the particular individual. We are the American Academy of Grief Counseling. Below, we have a link to our grief counseling certification program. It's an online program. It's independent study. You take the 4 core courses and you can become eligible for the 4-year certification. Our phone number is 330-652-7776. Again, that's 330-652-7776. And our email is info@aihcp.org. Again, that's info@aihcp.org. I think it's important to learn from this video one thing, that we respect everyone's loss because the loss affects them somehow. And when we start to disenfranchise their loss or diminish that loss, we become grief bullies. And it's important for us to respect loss of other individuals, especially grief counselors. So I would like to thank you for listening and have a great day.